And we're back to the future. We are going to discuss today our second set of character options. In our previous lesson, we discussed this first section of our character options. Now we are going to discuss our second section, and then we're going to get into additional character options. Okay? So if you recall the last time, we covered, font families, font styling, text size, the leading, the kerning, and tracking. Now we're going to discuss the manipulation tools for these actual characters themselves. We're going to create another artboard. If you don't know how to create new artboards, check our artboard tutorial and it will tell you how to do so. We're going to actually take this word and we are going to bring that onto this next board. Let's change it to awesome. And you know what? Let's increase this. It's a little bit. So now we have this up. And let's bring our character window back. And again, if you don't have this up, it's window, type, character. All right. We click this and we can look at changing the vertical scale for our word. Okay. If we were to do that, it's going to skew our word, but just on the vertical axis. So if we were to do this, take a look at the word and you'll notice that it starts to increase in its height. The width does not change for the individual letters, just for the height of the entire word. And you can do this individually by selecting a specific letter and then doing that accordingly. But if you wanted to keep it uniform, you would just select the entire word. Now, that is just how you manipulate the actual vertical scale of your object or of your type. You can do the same thing horizontally. It will just spread your words out from left to right or your individual letters. And you'll notice how it starts to spread. And again, it doesn't require you to do it for the entire word. You can select a letter and then you can do the same thing for that specific letter. So you're not restricted to the entire word. That's how you use the horizontal scale tool. Same thing as vertical, except it is horizontal. Works and functions the same way. But if you want to keep them consistent, you don't have to do any of that. You can just change your font size. So if you're constraining proportions, or if you want to, let's say, make this 120 by 120, then you can just continue to make sure that the percentages match. Or if you have a certain percentage that you want it to stay at, you make sure that it is in terms of fractions matching up against the same percentages. Okay? So that's how you would do that. Let's see, let's get us back down to 100 and 100. And our next item is actually, it's pretty useful. It's a baseline shift. And what this does is it allows you to select where an individual portion of a letter or a word in a paragraph actually sits, whether it's above the baseline, and your word always has a baseline where it sits. And it selects whether it's above that baseline, or you can shift it to be below the baseline. Okay, so that's what the baseline shift is for. And then we have rotation, and this is our character rotation, and you can rotate them as a whole word, or you can rotate the characters individually. Same thing, you just select the character, start to rotate it, and it will rotate about a central axis. Okay? And of course, anybody who knows math, we understand there are 360 degrees in rotation. So if you go any further than that, you're just back at the beginning and you start doing the same thing over and over again. All right. Now, underneath these options, that we just discussed, you'll notice there are some other options. And these are your basic text options that we've probably seen a million times if you've ever used Word or different things like that. So select your word and or your letter, and you'll notice there is an all caps option. So if we click that, it automatically converts our word to all caps. Okay? And next to it is a small caps option. Now, you'll notice that it shrunk in size, and you may be like, well, what's the difference between all caps and small caps? Well, I will show you. Let's first go back to our original word, and let's actually make this a capital letter. Now, when we had our, actually, let's go back to this. Let's duplicate this word, and then we can make this a capital A. Now, you'll notice when we change this to all caps, everything is the same line, or same level, same height, all letters. And that's because they were all lowercase. If we were to change this to small caps, everything is the same height, because all of the letters were the same. However, when we change this to all caps, everything will be the same height. But if we change it to small caps, you'll notice the only ones that are affected are the letters that were lowercase. The already uppercase letter still shows as an uppercase letter, even though they're all capital letters. Okay? So that's the difference between small caps and all caps. This is all caps, this is small caps. And notice that the A is the same size as it is in the small caps version that it is in the all caps version, but all the other letters, because they were lowercase, now have small caps. So it shows that this is still the capital letter in the word, but it keeps it all caps, but just it stylizes it. So just know the difference between these two. It's a good thing to know. And then you have superscript and subscript, and we all know those are different, ways that it will actually lift or lower your number to exponential type values. So let's say we have A3 here. Let's take the small caps off. And let's say we highlight the 3 and we click superscript. Now we have a superscript number. We could change the font size of that, but notice how it lifts that number up. If we were to select that, take superscript off, it's now lower again. And then we could change it to subscript. So those are our options. And our final 2 options are underline and strike. Very simple. If we were to click a word, click the underline, you'll notice we now have an underline. If we were to click strike through, it now strikes through the word. Very, very, very simple, easy to understand. And our last, very, very last, at the bottom, you'll notice there's anti-aliasing options. So you have sharp, crisp, and strong, which will change the aliasing around the actual words or characters themselves. So those are these options that are within there. We also have more options, which we will cover in our next tutorial, because I don't want to make this one too long. So take a second, review this stuff, and then come back and check out the next tutorial, and I'll see you guys there.